Okay, grabbed a calculator. Also realized my math was wrong. R does not equal 2 pi divided by c. You should know that if you're paying attention, right? The radius equals the circumference divided by 2 pi. Yeah. Because you see, you take c. Okay, here's why that is. If you have c equals 2 pi r, you divide everything by 2 pi, and then you get c equals 2 pi equals r. And that's how you do algebra. So, let's say your head is 20 inches. We're going to put that into the math. It's going to be 20 divided by 2 pi, which is about 6.28. And that is a long stream of numbers. Oh, it went away. But we're not going to worry about numbers for now. I'm going to do this tiny. So my radius is going to be 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So I drew a grid with perpendicular lines. That means they're at 90-degree angles to each other. That's also what that little box means. But out 3/4 of an inch in every direction, and then connect the dots to form a circle. And then what I did is I figured out how wide I wanted my brim to be. And then I measured out that amount from the circle, and I connected all my dots, and I did that. You with me so far? Great. And that is how you make the brim. Easy. 2 circles. Done. Then, to make the triangle part of the hat, what you want to do is you want to make a quarter of a circle. And this quarter of a circle is going to equal the same circumference as your head, right? So you want to draw a circle that is 4 times bigger than the circle you've already drawn, okay? So that's easy. You take your circumference, you times it by 4, and then you figure out the radius. Easy peasy. So, the way that looked like for me was I took my radius, my original radius was 3/4 of an inch, which the circumference of that it's around 4 3/4. And then so I'm going to times that by 4, and that's 18 in numbers, and then we're going to divide that by 2 pi, because we're trying to find, because here we go. So we have 4 3/4 times 4, that's going to be your new circumference of your quarter of a circle, and then you want to find the radius of that new circle, so you divide it by 2 by 2 pi, which is right, that's like 6.28. Now you get 3. That's my new radius. It's going to be 3. So you draw 2 lines that are perpendicular to each other. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that yet. It's later. 2 lines that are perpendicular to each other, and then I drew one down the center, all at 3 inches, and then I just connected them together. And that's it. Those are your shapes to make a witch's hat. Now, in order to glue it together, you need to have, like, we would call it seam allowance, but it's not really, I guess it's all seams. So I just drew on a little extension, and you want it to go to 0 at the top of the hat because it's a point, so there's not going to be any room for seam allowance. And then I just added on like a little, I do like a quarter or half an inch at the bottom so that you can glue this to that. So now we're gonna cut out. Why don't you go ahead while you're doing this and just clip all little pieces. And you'll see why we're doing this in a second. So it's just little clips. They don't have to be perfect. Right, now we're cutting out our circle. And now when you make this for real, first you might want to do like a little sample, just like I'm doing, out of paper that's really tiny, just so you understand what you're doing, and you sort of know all the tricks to it before you get started in the real materials. And the whole. But when you're ready to make the big one, I would use like OTAG, or something stiff for the brim. OTAG, mat board, anything really stiff. Even like foam core, although you don't want foam core for the point of the hat. You want something that's bendable for that. Alright. You have a donut. So take this, I'm gonna bend it right on the line. Remember, this is our seam allowance. That's like that. I'm gonna get some glue. I like Sopo glue. Elmer's glue would probably work, especially if you're not doing like heavy duty material stuff. Put just a little bit of glue. Tiny bit of glue. And then make it into a cone shape. And you can sort of, put too much glue on it. Just gonna wipe that away. You wanna, it's like, this is the pain in the ass part, is you kinda have to hold it until the glue dries, at least enough for the glue to stick to itself. Especially at the point, be careful of the point. Oh, first, the trickiest part, mine's not great. It's okay. And now you wanna just like go ahead and like fold all these little points up like this. And you want to make sure when you're clipping it, you clip, sorry, it's like so. When you're clipping it, you want to clip right to the line, because that'll make it everything easy. This is what it looks like. Go ahead and put more glue. just on the seam allowance. I don't want much. I'm like putting way too much on. Yeah. There you go. Take your brim and you're gonna stick the brim like this, and if you did all your math correctly, it should fit fairly snugly. Yeah. There we go. Now you have a witch's hat that is very tiny. Alright. And then as far as the stars and things go, have you ever made the origami stars where you like take a really long thin strip of paper and you like fold it in a hexagon all around itself and then you like push in the sides? If you don't, I'll make another instruction video, or you can find them. I'll send you, there's like a million guides online and you can buy the paper in stores and stuff like that. That's easy. If you can just like make your little stars and then sew them, like string them with thread to the brim of the hat. And that's the easy part. There. Now you learned geometry and how to make a hat.